the teaching topic today is best work. If there's one thing to remember from what we're going to talk about today, is that best work as a result comes from craftsmanship in everything we do. So best work, we hear it a lot. The driving force of our business, I believe, is to grow leaders who deliver the best work. And that means we're going to grow the people, all of us here, that are going to do the work to help support, deliver the best the clients can get on the jobs on that board. But that can only come from, it's a process. A best work outcome comes from a process. And I believe that process is craftsmanship. And I think best work is a moral imperative. And this is a big word, but I couldn't think of another word to capture really the impact of best work. But a moral imperative means that we must do the right thing. That regardless of profit, regardless of convenience, it's about our ethics over preference. And the idea is that this moral imperative means that we have to do the right thing no matter what. That somebody hires us to do the work, we promise we're going to do the best. So regardless if something happens, we can't excuse not delivering. We must deliver. And to do less than that is as bad as stealing, cheating, or the type of person that uses the last piece of toilet paper without replacing, which is one of the worst sins, straight to hell. So I'm gonna use a silly example, but a real example of this cracker right here. So these are Lance's Captain Wafers grilled cheese crackers. And we stock these in the break room. Mark probably knows the exact cost of these down to the penny. I'll say they're 50 cents. And so there's a 50-cent packet of crackers, but we expect certain things about these crackers when we buy them, even though they only cost us 50 cents. And we define best work in our business as air-free, on time, every time. And when I buy this pack of crackers, if I bought these crackers and ate them today, and I found out that the Cheese Whiz guy at the factory wasn't paying attention and he put rat poison in instead of cheese, I would eat these and I would get really sick. And they would not deliver me an air-free product, and I would be irate at them. There's a moral imperative that they have to give me food that doesn't make me sick or cause me any kind of food poisoning. But if they also, let's just say this is wrapped in a piece of cellophane, if that cellophane was so thin that I put this in my pocket and it ripped open and then I had cracker dust all over myself too, I'd be frustrated. Like, why didn't you give me a good enough product to keep the crackers together? And so even in a 50-cent cracker pack, we have these standards that we expect them to deliver on such an insignificant amount of money, and we expect them to deliver the best work. These also say that they do have GMOs in them. So if they were advertising on here that it was organic, no GMO, and then I found out they did have GMOs, I would feel like they were lying to me, and I would say they weren't being truthful. And all these things break trust between me and Lance Crackers. So if I can promise you that if I ate these crackers and I got sick, I'd probably never eat Lance Crackers again. I'd probably buy a different cracker brand. Or I might be like, I'm never eating packaged crackers again because I got sick. The same thing is true in our business. Like, they can't apologize enough if they make you sick from eating their crackers to fix it. It's the idea they had one chance. If everything works fine, no big deal, you don't even pay attention. But as soon as one error happens, that we remember, like, I'm never buying Lance Crackers again. Lance Crackers is the worst. Now it's in the newspaper that Lance Crackers has some kind of like outbreak. If you do everything right all the time, it's very quiet. And as soon as you have one mishap, like, it blows up. And the same thing is true in our work. If we have one job that we say closes good, but then it doesn't close good, and the customer calls us back, they call the project leader has to visit the site. They say, oh, I'm sorry, we messed up. Hey, we have to schedule the team back. Now it interferes with somebody else's work. Now our schedule's messed up because we got to split a team to cover that. It's this cycle of chaos. So the idea is a best work outcome, craftsmanship in everything we do. Our average job is about $30,000. And so that means sometimes we do jobs for $1,000, sometimes $300,000, but the average job we run through here is about $30,000. And we have these expectations on a 50-cent cracker. Imagine what somebody expects from a $30,000 floor. And we'll look through the three parts that I think make up a best work outcome is air-free. I think air-free has to be done with a high level of craftsmanship. It has to be done to a standard. We do some sealed concrete floors that are pretty simple process. You clean the floor and you spray a sealer down and microfibered in. That's a more simple process. We also do some precast terrazzo where literally every stone and every 1/16 of an inch matter, and those require different levels of detail, but they both have a standard to operate to be air-free. We have to respect other space and work to be air-free. So if we come into a space and we do a floor, but we get epoxy all over their new doors, or somebody just finished some casework and we run a grinder into their casework, like we're responsible to be respectful, and we have to own up to those things and maybe pay for things if we damage them. So to be air-free, we have to have a high level of craftsmanship. We have to do things to the standard that system requires, and we have to be respectful of other space and work. On time says we want to be people that when we said we would do it. So we have jobs that take 4 days, we have jobs that take 4 months. If we say it's going to take a certain amount of time, we want to be people that complete the task in that amount of time. Now, if things change, if we start with a 4-day process and we find out, hey, this floor has some other issues, we have to add a grout coat, they'd like to add color, we can say, hey, it's going to take us an extra 2 days, but it's important that we're thoughtful communicators and we communicate that and that we update them on those things. Now, if we start a 4-day project and we said we'd be done Friday, and then your team loses a guy 1 day, or a grinder breaks and you lose a half day of productivity, what we have to do to be men of our word is we have to figure out how to get that done. So we have to maybe work Saturday. Maybe we have to work later 1 day. Like, we want to be people that don't make excuses for the minor things or the inevitable things that can happen, that we can hit on time. But if a client changes something, we say, hey, if we do this, if we change this, we edit the timeline. But we want to be people that complete tasks. And also know that we are one of many on a job site. And so from a standpoint of finance, we're about 4% of a construction cost. So in a big construction timeline and a big construction cost, we are this much. So to imagine that we are the shit on the job sites or everything should go our way is silly to think about, because we're a pretty small part of a whole process. And they have a process to follow. And so we fit a scope towards the end of a project, before final casework, before final paint, and we have to complete our tasks so the whole job can go. That we're on job sites for, let's say Adams Central, for example. How long has that job been going on? Have they been there like 6 months, maybe 9 months? Do you know? Yeah.
Probably longer than that.
Jake, do you know how?
I think it was, it might be a little over a year actually.
So Tony, the superintendent's been there for a year. We're coming for 4 weeks, right? And then we're out, and then they have a couple more weeks of work to do. And so like, we're a small part of that construction project. And so it's really important that we do our work, because they're managing something that's much bigger than just us. And then on time, we have our budget. So when we start a job, we have to have some idea of time it takes to do a project. And because there's a lot of variabilities in construction, we might not have it down to the exact hour, but we might say, hey, this is probably a 2.5 to 3 week project. Depends on how this plays out, depends on how this plays out, all these factors, but like, we really need to get done within about 2.5 to 3 weeks. And so if that job takes 5 weeks, we would know that we're not gonna hit our budget associated with our labor cost. When we do a budget or a bid for a client, it's taken into consideration the amount of product we use, and it's taken into consideration how much time we're gonna use, and then that's how we present our proposal. And so we have an idea of what we have to hit to be effective on our budget as well. And then every time, it's this idea that we need to have repeated procedures for what we do. We need to be able to repeat things over and over again. That's how we find flows. That's how we build consistency. That's how we train people faster. And the idea of trainable too. If we do it this way this time, this way this time, this way differently, we'll never be able to train people to grow and build their skill sets. And so there's an every time approach that customers appreciate too. We never want a customer calling and saying, hey, I only want to work with this team. It's like, no, you get Dancer and all the teams are going to deliver best work. The every time with this wafer example too, this thing is the grilled cheese flavor. So if you really like their grilled cheese flavor, but every time you open a package of crackers, it tastes a little bit different, that wouldn't build a consistent experience. Another one is pizza. Like, Pizza Hut pizza tastes pretty similar no matter where you go. Domino's pizza tastes pretty similar everywhere you go. And you have a preference for the taste you like, but it'd be weird to buy a pizza and have the flavor completely different, or the cook that day at Pizza Hut to determine that he wants to change the sauce recipe at Pizza Hut because he likes it a different way. Like, that's not respectful to the customers or the other people there. That you have to build a consistent approach with a business. So those are the big picture, high level. To deliver best work, want to be air-free, on time, every time. We're going to go through a couple specifics for us. So we do polished floors, we do coatings, we do terrazzo and precast, and then I also want to introduce WPs. I'm going to do 2 job site visits with DJ for upcoming jobs, and I want to know, what do you need as a team leader or a crew that makes like a best working procedure? And WP stands for working procedure. So that's not the fine flow stuff. This is the details of the job, about like, where's power, is there lights in the space, where's the restroom, how many days do we have? I want to know what is a best work WP for a project leader. So think about, we're closing out a polished job. What are the things that make it best work, or what are the things that make it not best work? Like, what are those indicators that's like, this job is good or it's not good? Okay, so an even, consistent sheen. So you should be able to look across the floor and see that it's all kind of the same, right? Okay. So a floor that doesn't have a consistent sheen, what does it have? Like divots or marks or dull spots? Inconsistent. Okay. Resin transfer. Okay. What else about a polished floor? Even sheen.
Patches all done up, like no cracks or patches or crazy pinholes.
Okay. So patchwork has to be even and smooth with the floor. No pinholes, no patches missed. Okay. What else?
Blend edging to blend well with the floor.
Yep. So you want to be able to see that, like, you don't want to ever see a tool mark or recognize that there's ever a different machine. It's kind of, I always say, like, it's like magically done. You left no trace of that there's any edging or multi-tool marks. What else about a polished job that would help it stand out as best work or not best work?
Every corner hit.
Every corner, all those details.
So clean lines at doorways and color.
Yep. Clean lines, doorways, color. It might have some modeling, but appropriate modeling. It doesn't have spray marks or marks from a microfiber of sorts.
Make sure your joints are clean.
Yep. Joints smooth, clean, no grout sitting in the joints, no joint fill missing, no scrape marks.
No scratches.
No scratches, no visible scratches in the floor.
No dust on the walls or ledges.
Yep. So if we hit those metrics, that's the best work close for a polish job. What about coatings? What coatings have some similarities, like an even sheen across the floor. If you have a chip floor, you want a nice even stipple. That's a visual indicator. If you have a quartz floor, that stipple's a little bit different, but it has the consistent stipple. You don't have any puddles, you don't have any sharp spots on the floor. What other things about coatings make it a best work close?
Make sure it all sets up.
Yeah, so setup. Yeah, if a floor doesn't set up, we're in bad spot.
I would say when you're rolling, splatter your product on the wall.
Yeah. And DJ, what was yours?
I say my cleanliness.
Cleanliness? Yep, so no epoxy on a door handle, no epoxy where it needs to be, doesn't need to be, or no marks left from like razoring off paint something.
I'd say smooth coat and even coating in the corners, same as the floor.
No patches. What's that? Bare spots with chips. So you don't want to see that body coat showing through. Patching, you don't want to see any patching telegraph through. So anytime you can see a patching underneath, that would be not a best work installation.
I'd say smooth transition. We're like
Smooth.
coating the floor. And you
Well-
probably coat up to the next floor or something.
Oh yeah, like if you've got to do it in phases and like bring those two together.
Yeah, I feel like epoxy is like, it's either good or it's not. Not like it's either good or it's not, but like your floor is either, you know, how it should look or it's not. It's either glossy or it's a nice stiff. There's bare spots or it's not. Like, you'll know when you walk in just how good you did the previous day. Tell.
I think pouring regular concrete and coatings are probably some of the hardest in the moment craftsmanship that exists in construction. And so think about like another trade, like putting exterior siding on, or even our polish, or tile, or laying carpet, or LVT. Like you can work, you can pause, you can think. You can work, you can pause, you can think. Any kind of carpentry is like that too. But when you mix a batch of epoxy, or a concrete truck shows up to your job site, there's nothing you can do. And like you have the clock starts, and when you start pouring concrete, it's even more challenging because you got environment of like outside, but you can't stop. Like it's just like you're all in. And the same is true with our coatings and it's all in as in there's not really a repair either with like cabinetry or woodworking. If you find a mistake, you can kind of cut it out, replace a piece and make it good. But with coatings, it's kind of all in. Like each room is like the furthest you can do something. With poured concrete, if something goes bad on the pour, you can't really do something to touch it up. It's an all-in mentality. And so I think the mindset around coatings produces some really neat floors, but also it should always feel like pressure, because once you start, you got to be locked in. There's no outcome other than to deliver. What about with Terrazzo or any of our precasts? What do we notice about like best work details with that are different than polish and epoxy or similar?
I think starting with a good prep, having good prep, good strips, sets you up for success.
Yeah. Yeah,
Stone mix ratio, right?
Yep. So there's a right stone mixture. So we're measuring stone down to 5% of a stone load difference. And so it would have to carry through the whole job, that same percentage, same sizes. Prep too with, like we've been prepping with levels because we have these big heavy machines that can grind, and it could grind low or high. So we have to make sure the prep is super flat. Ben?
Smooth grind after you pour. Just making sure it's flat.
Yep. Yeah, there's a flatness tolerance with Terrazzo that we don't run into with our regular floors.
Corners.
Yep, corners detailed out.
Grout.
Grout. Yeah, make sure you remove all grout.
So you got to remove it so it doesn't leave a hazy look, and you also have to make sure you have enough that it fills in the pinholes. And if you do multiple colors, making sure that one grout doesn't get into the other floor, or you're gonna have to be drilling it out with a drill bit to make it right. Strips touching. I know, Ro, you're talking about prep and strips, but strips have to touch. They can't move during the pour. They have to be glued down well.
Mixing.
Right ratios, right mix, right products.
Yeah, like transitions into other floorings. This is always a topic with Terrazzo.
Mostly because of the thickness of it too. Like the thickness of Terrazzo being about 3/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and how a lot of places don't want like a transition strip. How about working with measurements on precast are really important. So we have to build some of our precast, any side that gets polished, a 1/16 of an inch thicker to account for grinding. But there's a lot of things when you're on a regular floor, if there's a little bit of a contour 1/16 out, it's not a huge deal. But with the precast, the measurements that we work in are not worried about like square foot anymore. Everything's down to like 5 2/16, 3/4 inch radius. Like those measurements get very concentrated. What about working procedures? You start a job. What does a best working procedure look like? What does it have in it?
Power, size of machine you can use, accurate address,
About to say that.
where to go in at too, like where to interact, where to leave at, where to park at,
Well, bad.
where's the power at, how are we getting power, contractors on site, like the general contractor.
I think some WPs change too, so like always making the changes that happen on site that quick. like updated stuff or schedule changes or process plans, like an updated WP.
So keeping it updated throughout the process.
Product information. I think it's good to show what's when you start with and when you show up.
Updated blueprints.
Day by day, that Nathan made over there.
One thing we've been talking about, so our our business has grown in the scale and size of our project. So, you know, a job used to be a week for us, and now maybe the average job is 3 weeks. So that means that some jobs are 5, 6, 7, 8, homestead 3 years long. And so it can be overwhelming or not know like what needs to be done each day to accommodate a whole big project. And one of the things too is we want to serve the team by having really good schedules, but also I know personally for me, I like to be part of the solution, not just to be like told what to do, but bring the knowledge from someone that's really skilled in planning and understanding the whole scope from an architect and GC perspective of what needs to happen, to understand that full timeline more. Like Adam Central, for example, I think I was there a year and a half ago, and the intention of why that project was important, why it needs done in certain times, why it has to be done in these phases, like that knowledge exists because we're involved on the front end. So that's important the team doesn't have to know all those details, but they have to know enough of like why we're there, what we need to hit. And so we can take that knowledge and then also take the knowledge of like what is actual possible to get done on site, and then look at that schedule together and come up with something that works. So for me to write down, clean up chips, coat same day sounds really easy, right? It's like 3 characters. But recognizing Adam Central pool deck to clean chips and top coat with cove, that would have been really difficult, right? Because you had tons of cove, tons of obstacles. And so to do a really good job cleaning chips, they had to say like, hey, we're gonna need a full day just to clean chips on this job. Like maybe if it didn't have so much cove, or maybe if it didn't have so much obstacles, we could hit it. If we had to hit that for some reason, we could say, is it possible? And they could say, well, maybe 4 guys can come clean chips and we'll have a second crew coat. Like sometimes those things have to happen and we have to meet a schedule, but sometimes it's just a quick communication and we can adjust and pivot. So that's what looks like best work polish, epoxy, terrazzo, and WPs. And so this is all good, it sounds good. This is what we want to point towards. We'd love to work with craftsmanship every day, have best work as an outcome. But how do we do it? And I think there's a problem. I think that the problem is that we have a reputation to protect. And knowing like, will this person work in a way that builds our reputation? So as we have these jobs and opportunities, we grow our team. And there's a lot of people here that are newer to the company. And let's define new guy. So how long are you a new guy?
Longer, 4 months, 5 months.
Is this an auction? So how long are you a new guy? A year? The new guys want it to be like 3 days.
6 months. I'm like 6 months.
6 months is out.
At least 6 months.
At least.
But yeah, you're still new. You're new.
By 6 months, you should at least start picking up on what's going on site and, you know, kind of get into a flow. Yeah, probably. It'll take you at least a year to really get into it.
I feel like it depends on the person.
Depends on how much you talk in the monthly meeting. But there's going to be things, so everyone's going to catch on to things faster or slower. But there is a sense of like just being part of a group, knowing the guys, knowing the process, really feeling the work a long time. 6 months to a year, would you say? You have your 6-month planning session. That's kind of like you're like part of the team a little bit.
Yes, that's our goals.
Okay. When you get your book bag. So we have to think like, will this person work in a way that builds a reputation? So Dancer existed before the new guy joined our company. And we want to exist in the future too. And I would want a reputation in a business that people say, hey, they're strong and steady, they're dialed in, they deliver great work. I want to work with them. The Adam Central, the Kokomo Pool, the Kennedy Basement, the Van Uridan, the Huntington, the Ontario, the Booker Garage, Homestead, all these people had to make, Homestead didn't make a choice. That was a public bid, so we were just the low bid. But everyone else like kind of made a choice to work with us. And so they said, hey, I have options. I want to work with Dancer. And they want to work with us because they think we'll deliver the best work. And so we have a reputation to protect. So every time we hire somebody, we have to say, is this person going to work in a way that builds our reputation? I want to have a better business in the future than I have today. I want your guys' work to be more craftsman-like in the future than it is today. So is this person going to help us achieve those goals? Or are we lowering our standards so low that our work is going to get worse and drop in quality and things are going to lower? So we have to, that's a real question. And so we also have to fight for work. We do not just get jobs just because Dancer's a cool company or we have a process magazine or because people like us. Like we literally have to fight to get work. I got a call yesterday from an automotive company that got 3 bids and they said, why should we choose you is the answer. And I said, hey, we're gonna deliver a high level of craftsmanship. It's a big job. We have experience doing these bigger jobs. I don't think these other companies do. You set a pretty defined scope for the project. We're committed to hitting that schedule as you need. And come visit a couple of the jobs we've done so you can see our work. And they're actually gonna spend a little bit more money with us. But I said, like, I think it's still irresponsible not to choose us because you'll get a great team. We're pointing towards best work. We have skills and abilities to deliver. But they have to make a $100,000 decision on who they work with. And there's about a $20,000 gap between the low bid and the high bid, and there's one in between. And so that's a real decision people make to say, like, are they gonna work with Dancer or not? And that's a real decision we have to make when people come into our business. Like, are we gonna invest in this person? Is this person gonna help us get that job? Is this person gonna help us deliver on that promise that I made to a customer? And I think that growing leaders in the business is gonna be the bottleneck in our business. So a bottleneck, I know many of you have seen this before, this is a bottle. The neck of the bottle is the speed at which water can come out. So we can see that that's about the speed. And I've also seen Noah Bollenbacher chug one of these in about 1 second. I think he has the record for the fastest water chug at Dancer, right? Okay. So the idea is there's a bottleneck. That will be our bottleneck. And one of the ways we can open up our bottleneck is if you remove the bottleneck, things flow a heck of a lot smoother. Every job, every process has a bottleneck. The idea is to identify it, know what that is, and then recognize like, oh, we're just gonna work with that, or we could remove it. And I think that growing leaders inside of our business, that will be the bottleneck to our future. That will be the bottleneck to the capabilities. Is because we gotta turn a new guy into a high-level craftsman. We have to take a new guy and turn him into a future team leader. We have to take a new guy and turn him into a future project leader. We have to take a new guy and turn him into a shop guy. And so that takes time. And that's the bottleneck to make them know what our company is and what we believe for. Another problem that keeps us from delivering best work would be projects are too big for one. So we talk about growing leaders and we should think about ourselves and like what I can do and how can I contribute. But we can't build a business with just one guy. Every job up there can't just have one guy go do the work. It takes a team approach to do the work. Time, this kind of builds into the new guy thing, that I think a year is to build awareness. Day one, I don't know the difference between guard and dunce fire. It takes a year just to kind of build an awareness and know how things work, understand the complexities, different personalities, how to navigate. 2 years, I can start building some real skills. At 2 years also is where people start thinking like, this is pretty simple, I kind of got it. And then at 5 years, they're like, wow, it was really silly. I really didn't know that much at 2 years. But 5 years is a path towards mastery. And that doesn't mean you are a master at the skill set yet, but it means that you can start understanding that, wow, I could get really good if I committed myself to a practice like this. And this isn't Dancer numbers. These are similar numbers whether you want to take up jujitsu, whether you wanted to learn a new instrument, whether you wanted to learn a new language. Like these are just common human elements associated with our ability to learn and at what pace. And so if we think about 5 years, who's the closest one here at 5 years right now? Ian, you just celebrated 5 years? So 5 years ago, when you were a new guy, putting you in a spot to say, hey, I need you to lead Sweet Aviation. We got this good opportunity. Could you have led that job? No, that would have been a disaster. So it takes time to build these skills to be able to deliver. And then another problem of being able to grow leaders, and so we're going to talk about the problems of why, like the holdup of what keeps us from delivering best work is expectations. And here's a silly example. It's just like, hey, you should know this. And it's like if I just told you, hey, draw the owl, and we'll pass that around. And it's these unmet expectations, or what I think is common sense should be common sense to you, and it's not really guiding you through. And so those are the problems. We have a reputation to protect. We have a bottleneck to bring people on. Our projects are too big for one. We got time, and we have these expectations of people they should just be able to deliver. And so the solution is one-on-one training. That your example is probably the most important thing that somebody will have to grow their ability. So Ian, 5 years in, when you started, you're a new guy. Do you have any memories of somebody spending some one-on-one time showing you how to do something? Can you give an example that comes to mind?
Remember Ben and Anthony showed me how to build code?
Okay. So you guys had to spend one-on-one time. Hey, Ben or Anthony said, hey, here, let me show you. Let me show you what code looks like. Let me show you what it looks like good. Let me show you what it looks like bad. That one-on-one example impacted your growth. That's how most of the training is going to happen in our business. If we look at our hours, 97% of our training actually is going to be on-site, on job sites. And somebody on the team has to say, hey, here, let me show you how to do that. We have to set the expectation when we do that, and we have to hold the standard. So, hey, let me show you how to build Cove. Here's the expectation. This is what it should look like. You don't have to be as fast as us today, but you'll probably in the future be this quick. But this is what this should look like. And if Ian didn't build good Cove and Ian said it was good enough, would Anthony or Ben would have said like, hey, you got to redo that? Or, hey, I'm going to touch that up. That's not good enough?
Yeah, they'd say, yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
Yep. So we have to hold that standard. We have to set the expectation, and then we have to hold the standard. Back to this, here, let me show you too. A question, so same idea, two different ways to phrase it. But if I'm like, hey, Mark, have you ever used the poly pump before?
Yes.
All right, can you go clean it?
No.
Mark would, on the job site, he'd be like, sure, I know how. Like, I'm good to go. I'd be like, hey, Mark, has anyone specifically shown you how to clean the poly pump?
Yeah.
Who showed you?
Kyle.
All right, now I know he's good to go. But if somebody's like, oh no, I just kind of watched somebody do it, it's like, all right, well let me show you. Like, instead of just saying, hey, can you? It's like, has anyone specifically shown you? Has anyone shown you how to build Cove? If not, let me show you. Has anyone, because the idea is, as men, we like to feel a little bit more qualified than we actually are. And so we might say we know how to do something before we really know how to do it. Mitch, you're doing a roof right now, right?
Yeah.
You're not a roofer, right?
No.
Well, you'll figure it out. It's just a roof. What's the worst thing that could happen? So that's a...
Showing me one-on-one.
Yeah, he's showing you.
I didn't know how to lay a shingle.
Yeah.
He's showing me. He has the training, but that's that example. It's like, I wouldn't know unless he showed me exactly what to do.
Yep. But you could work really hard. You could want to do right, but without actually knowing what that standard is or holding to a standard. You could go up there and work all day, look like you made a lot of progress, and your roof could still leak. And so it's really important that we know what that expectation is and we hold to that standard. Knowing that as men, we are a little overconfident, and a little bit of humility, saying like, hey, can you show me how to do it right, can go a long way. I think we also need to build powerful teams. Because our projects are too big for one, we do not want a business with a team lead and a bunch of helpers. We need a powerful team. We need people on teams that bring craftsmanship to a higher standard than just what the team leader brings. And so we need multiple people playing different roles. Much like in our business organization, I was once the shop guy. I believe that Kyle and Mark are better shop guys than me. I can work on a 32. I have had to work on the 32 and replace a belt. I believe Kyle will deliver that same result much faster and much more accurately than I can. I am a very mediocre project leader. I have to really pay attention to the things I'm going to set up for DJ as a project leader. I'm not great at some of those detailed, really digging into blueprint type things. I don't do takeoffs. Even prior to this business, Lexi did my takeoffs for me. I do not like or am not good at those things. So we have a project leader team that are really good at diving into the details and making sure things are prepped. I know how to do our work, but if you need me to build cove, it's gonna look pretty bad. Like, I'm not a great cove builder. And so we need people that are playing strengths more powerful than us in different parts to build powerful teams that can execute on our work. We need consistent rhythms. Even this meeting used to be once a month. We said, hey, that's a little bit too much time. We're gonna spread it out. But we are back in a rhythm of hitting this meeting. We have consistent rhythms with getting guys into day 1 and day 2. We have consistent rhythms with doing epoxy and polish training. Now there's seasons where we have to pivot and we have to accommodate jobs, but we have to come back to that rhythm. And those are the same rhythms that you guys appreciate too, whether it's hitting the gym or spending more time with family. There's seasons where like that stretches and you come back to that rhythm and you get in that cadence again. And it always feels good to get back in those rhythms. And I believe team members gotta want it. So if you're a new guy, or if you're a 10-year guy, these are the things we expect that to really be good at the solution to delivering best work is that you gotta be hungry, and that means that boy's gotta eat. And that means that they got an inner drive or ambition that's driving them. And whether it's the drive and ambition, I gotta work overtime to pay bills, or I wanna be a team leader someday, or I can't wait to grow my skills, or I love the challenge of what we get to do. Like, you gotta be hungry for that. And drive looks different than a lot of people. Some people are more loud and rambunctious with their drive, and some people are very quiet with their drive. But you gotta have that hunger, that fight that wants something. And you gotta be humble. You have to say, hey, I don't know it all. I'm not the best at everything. I wanna learn, I wanna grow. Ben Daggy just celebrated his 10 years. He's a pretty humble guy. He's still willing and able to learn and to grow, even after seeing the business for 10 years. And we have to have that humble attitude. And people want to be around that humility. Like, hey, I don't know, or man, I'm sorry, like I didn't do a good job with that. I actually don't know how to do it. Can you show me how to do it? I think that humility makes you grow faster and faster. And then you gotta be smart. And this isn't book smart. This is smart knowing like your role on a job site, how to handle yourself on a job site, how to navigate this business socially. It's just recognizing how to be appropriate in the situations we get into, know when to ask for help, know when it's time to teach somebody, know when it's time to just get it done yourself. You have to have that kind of street smarts associated with the work we do. So the idea is our results as a whole, our best work will never outpace our craftsmanship in this moment. There are no shortcuts, there is no later, it's cause and effect. It is a human desire to want good results for less and less work and to make it easier and easier. And what I found from the highest level of craftsmanship that I look up to for the best work that I've ever seen is they don't work dumb. They're not looking to like just waste time, but they use time very effectively, but they do the best in each step. Everything we do is process driven, whether it's a WP, whether it's a polish floor, coating, terrazzo, it's 10-step process, and you'll never get to the result you want unless it's best at step 1, best at step 2, best in step 3, and 4, and 5. 5's a bad day, we still gotta deliver best. Best 6, best 7, something went wrong, we gotta pivot, adjust, best that day. 8, 9, and 10. And there's no way to escape that. There is no shortcut in delivering best work, but our craftsmanship matters, and the way we grow leaders in this business matters to deliver on those things. And that is our monthly. We'll head to the shop.